The morning sun poured across the towering glass windows of Marlowe Industries, painting golden streaks across the sleek marble floors as employees rushed through the lobby. It was supposed to be an ordinary hiring day for the company, a routine set of interviews with polished candidates, all competing for the coveted position of executive development strategist. But everything changed the moment billionaire CEO Elias Marlowe, a man known for his cold precision and unforgiving standards, stepped into the interview room and found a woman sitting there who wasn't on the list. Her clothes were modest, her hair slightly messy, and her hands tightly gripping a worn-out folder as if it contained her entire world. For a man who built an empire on order, logic, and flawless perfection, her presence felt like a mistake, yet one he couldn't immediately walk away from. It was the mistake that would shatter every belief he held about success, struggle, and humanity. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness right now. It truly helps these stories reach more hearts. Elias had been battling an inner emptiness for years, a silent ache from losing his wife in a tragic car accident and turning all his grief into work. He became a machine, efficient, brilliant, emotionally distant. His wealth grew, his influence expanded, but the warmth inside him faded day by day. So when he entered that interview room expecting another polished candidate from an Ivy League school and instead found a woman with trembling fingers and exhaustion in her eyes, something inside him paused. Her name was Mara Vishen, and she wasn't supposed to be there at all. In fact, she was there by mistake. She had arrived for a junior office clerk interview scheduled one floor below, but a confusing email mix-up sent her to the executive boardroom instead. She should have apologized and left, but she stayed seated, frozen by fear and hope fighting inside her. As Elias looked at her, he expected to see incompetence, nervousness, and excuses. Instead, he saw resilience. Mara carried a quiet strength that caught him off guard. Her file was neatly organized, each page filled with handwritten notes, volunteer work, and small jobs she had taken to survive. She was a single mother of a 7-year-old boy named Aaron and a 12-year-old girl named Keza, both struggling in school, both needing stability she couldn't afford. She had taken care of her ill mother until her passing, working nights in a supermarket and weekends as a cleaner, never complaining, never stopping. Every line in her resume whispered sacrifice. Mara knew she was in the wrong room, but something in her heart told her to try, to speak, to not waste the only moment fate had given her. So when Elias asked why she thought she was qualified, she didn't speak of degrees she didn't have or skills she couldn't fake. She spoke of survival, of learning to manage budgets with nothing, of leading small teams in volunteer drives, of keeping calm under pressure, of balancing life like a warrior, armored with nothing but hope. She spoke with sincerity, humility, and quiet power. Elias listened with an intensity his staff hadn't seen in years. The interview that should have lasted 10 minutes stretched into an hour. Elias found himself asking more questions, not to test her but to understand her. Why had she taken so many small jobs? Why did she keep going despite every setback? Why didn't she give up? Her answers were simple yet profound. She wanted her children to grow in a world where they didn't have to apologize for being poor. She wanted them to see that life could be rebuilt from the ashes. She wanted to break a cycle her parents couldn't. Each sentence she spoke felt like a mirror reflecting parts of Elias he buried years ago, his own hunger to rebuild after losing everything emotionally. After the interview, Elias sat alone at his desk, unable to focus. This woman had no business being in a high-level interview, yet she had displayed more heart, more courage, and more authentic leadership than any of the elite candidates he had met. Something in him shifted. A desire to step outside the fortress he had built around himself. Later that day, he discovered that Mara did not get the downstairs job she originally applied for. She returned home in tears, exhausted from trying so hard for so long. She lived in a tiny apartment with peeling paint, leaking taps, and no heating. Her son Arin struggled with asthma, and her daughter Kaisa had been bullied in school for wearing old clothes. Mara cooked simple meals, stretched every dollar, and held her children as tightly as she held hope. Elias, meanwhile, found himself thinking about her continuously. He researched her volunteer work, her community projects, her personal struggles. For the first time in years, he cared, truly cared, about someone else's story. The cold CEO who once measured people only by profit began feeling something unfamiliar: compassion. The next morning, Elias made a decision that shocked everyone in his company. He called the HR department and instructed them to summon Mara for a second meeting. Not an interview, an offer. But Mara arrived trembling, expecting rejection or confusion. When she stepped into Elias's office, she was overwhelmed by its size, its sunlight, its silence. Elias didn't speak of charity or pity. He spoke of potential. He offered her a position created especially for her. Community Outreach Coordinator, a role built around her strengths, organizing volunteer drives, managing support programs, helping people facing struggles she understood firsthand. Mara broke down in tears right there. She had never been offered anything meaningful, never been trusted with responsibility, never been given a chance to show what she was capable of. Elias told her something she never thought she would hear from a billionaire CEO: that resilience mattered more than prestige, that heart mattered more than degrees, that leadership came from life, not just textbooks. As weeks passed, Mara flourished. She brought fresh energy into the company, connecting with employees, reviving programs that had been abandoned, designing initiatives to help struggling families. Elias watched her grow, admired her dedication, and began joining her on outreach events. He saw the world he had forgotten, the world beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. Mara's children adored him, especially little Aaron, who held Elias's hand during community drives, reminding him of the warmth he lost when his wife passed away. The company culture slowly transformed. Employees became more connected, more empathetic, more engaged. Productivity rose because happiness rose. People felt seen again, valued again, human again, all because of a mistake that turned into a miracle. But the greatest shock came when Mara uncovered old records showing how many families Elias's company could help with unused funds in dormant accounts. She presented a proposal to create the Marlowe Foundation for Family Support, a program that would change thousands of lives. Elias approved it instantly and named Mara the director. The boardroom gasped. A woman who once cleaned offices at night was now leading one of the most impactful foundations in the city. But the most unexpected moment happened months later during a large public event where Elias announced the foundation. The crowd applauded, reporters filled the hall, cameras flashed, and then Elias spoke words no one expected. He said that Mara had taught him more about humanity than all his years in business. That sometimes the greatest leaders were those who had learned through hardship. That a mistaken interview had opened his eyes to the power of compassion. Mara couldn't hold back her tears. Her children watched proudly. The crowd cheered for her, not because she was perfect or privileged, but because her journey represented the strength hidden inside millions of people just like her. By the end of the year, the foundation had helped thousands of families. Mara's life transformed, her children thrived, and Elias felt his heart healing. For the first time since losing his wife, he felt purpose again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness. Your support helps more people hear stories that inspire change. And before we end, special request: comment, "I believe in kindness," if this story moved you. If you want, I can now create SEO description, keywords, hashtags, thumbnail text, title, variations. Just say SEO package Banadu.